Hi, my name is Kelly Crawford. I'm the Public Engagement Coordinator for the Baptist Association, and today I'm here with Astrid Dare, who is the Chief Member Experience Officer for Christian Super. And Christian Super has been a partner in the Consumed campaign, which has been running over the past 2 years. And today we're going to talk about some things related to ethical super funds, related to the likeness of God, and just hear from Astrid about what she thinks about some of these topics. And so, Astrid, we have been talking in Consumed about our faith impacting our life. And I would say we were talking in general, Christians believe and try to live that out, that their faith impacts their life. But we do often not talk a lot about finances and investing and how our faith impacts that. So, do you think that investing with an ethical super fund is a pathway for living out our faith?
Yes, Kelly, I definitely do. And I think it's a really interesting one because for a lot of people, faith and finance is not necessarily something that is top of mind. Money almost feels like a worldly thing that we don't always see outworking in terms of our faith. But one of the really exciting things about super funds like Christian Super that invest ethically is the fund makes the real effort to think through, well, what does the Bible say about, God's heart for humanity and about creation care? And then how can that be expressed in terms of investment decisions? So at a fund level, Christian Super is thinking about, well, we've got members who are investing money into super because that's mandatory in Australia. So how can we be the best stewards that we can of that money, knowing what God says about those things, human flourishing and creation care. But then I think if you take it a step back to an individual level, like all of us have choices in terms of what we do with the money that God has entrusted to us, whether that's decisions on how we spend that in everyday living, how we invest, or from a super perspective, where that money goes. So it's a really great one for people to ponder. It doesn't mean that, everyone should be investing in Christian Super, although we obviously love that. But I just really encourage people to think about the choices that they've made, or maybe the choices that they've made indirectly by not kind of making an active choice, and think about, where your super's invested and, the other choices that you make around your finances.
And in terms of, we have been also talking about the likeness of God and kind of rediscovering what God is like and talking about some of his characteristics. And I guess I'd be interested to hear from you how you think the projects that Christian Super invests in show people in some way what God is like.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I will start by answering a little bit more broadly, but then talk specifically around something we do that's a bit unique. So, like just about all super funds, we invest in the share market, we invest in property and infrastructure and all those sorts of things. And we do that with a lens. So, there would be industries and companies that we would avoid because we don't agree with the things that they promote. So, for example, gambling. There would be companies that we might try and invest more into because they're doing really good things in terms of their environmental, social, and governance factors. But then there's this aspect of our investment portfolio, which we call impact investing. And it basically means that we look for projects where there's going to be a direct human or environmental impact. And a lot of the things that we have invested in that space are really coming from this place of, as Christians and our belief in what God wants for humanity, how can we articulate that in terms of the investment choices? So to give you a few examples, and there are many, many, there is a wonderful business in Nepal called Cloud Factory that employs workers and gives them a living wage, and they do all sorts of really cool cloud-based infrastructure for companies all around the world. But that's run by Christians who have got a heart for seeing people in countries where there's not a lot of good job opportunities have opportunities to lift themselves out of poverty, and they do a lot there. There's another amazing organization that we've just wound it up, but we've been investing in called Newpin, and they basically help to reunite families where children have been removed by the Department of Human Services because of protection risks, but they work with the parents and have supervised visits to kind of help bring families back together. And they've had a really huge success rate in the success of that program there's lots and lots of things that we do in that space, but it really comes down to thinking through, money is about more than just making a profit. We're a super fund, so we do need to invest with that aim in mind. But we don't see it as being an either or. It's not about profit or taking care of people and creation. We really want to bring them both together. And impact investing has been a really amazing way for the fund to live out those values. And we know that our members really, they love that side of it. They love hearing the stories of people whose lives are being changed through those types of investments.
And in terms of that, because I mean, those companies sound really interesting, and I love that you're thinking through more than just, oh, how much profit can we make off of this? But do you think that the clients recognize the projects as some type of, I guess we've been talking about renewal or rebirth of us and of the earth? Or do you think it's more, oh, I'm going to do good with this? Like, has there been a shift at all, especially when we talk about some of the environmental stuff, that this is kind of the likeness of God because we're renewing the earth in some way, or we're renewing people's lives in some way, and it's more than just, I've done a good thing. It's about like the overall kingdom flourishing. I guess I'm interested in hearing a bit about that piece.
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think the renewal side is really the heart behind it. But if I'm honest, I wonder if whether there's still an element of our members and a lot of people thinking around, oh, this is doing good or this is doing extra good, which is not in and of itself bad. But we were talking about this just the other day. Our motivation for investing in these types of projects is not so that we can say, we're better than the other super funds, or look how good we are because we're Christians. We're investing in them because we're trying to just, I guess, echo God's heart in terms of, how he wants his creation to be cared for. And we recognize we have a unique role that we can play. We use phrases like redemptive capital to reflect the fact that, we want money to be used to redeem humanity, to renew creation, as you've said. So yeah, I think it's a great question, and one that we want to keep leaning into more to talk about the real heart behind what we do, rather than it seeming like another box that we might be ticking.
I love that. And I haven't heard redemptive capital before, but I really love that. I think we need to start making that a bit of a part of our lingo, because I'm going to diverge for a second, because there's actually this conversation that you and I have had a few different times, or just, in a few different places. There's this tension, I think, for Christians between, is it all right for me to be saving and securing my future financially, because that means I'm being a good steward? Or am I actually, in some ways, if I'm shoring that up, not relying on the provision of God? And how much is too much? Like, there's this real tension, I think, sometimes we feel as Christians, where we want to be responsible. Some of us, we want to fund our retirement. We don't want to be a burden to people, but then at the same time, we can get carried away, can't we, in some ways, thinking, how much do we really need? So I don't know if you have any thoughts to put into that space. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you have any pieces that we could reflect on, or anything, as we think about what the right thing to do is in terms of saving for retirement?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I'll give you my thoughts, which are, I don't know if there's a how much is enough, like, easy answer. I know that, some organizations will try and give you a magic number. What we've really tried to think through, because we've been thinking through the role of retirement. So let me take a step back and then I'll answer your question. So, in a lot of the more secular communications about retirement, it's kind of this relaxing reward. You've worked hard all your life, now walk on the beach and collect seashells.
Go golfing.
Go golfing and take cruises. And we're not knocking or trying to diminish the leisure aspects of retirement. But, we have this deep belief that God has a purpose for all of us in life. And that purpose doesn't suddenly stop because you've reached a certain age, or, your work has changed. We really want to equip and enable Christians to live out a purposeful retirement, whatever that looks like for them. So then, when you think that through, the question of money becomes more around sufficiency and enabling what that looks like. And we've talked about this a little bit internally. There are many different articulations. For some, perhaps that have been working in ministry all of their life, they really need to just step back and I guess have some time to breathe and reflect before engaging in whatever that next stage looks like. For others, it may be a season where they've just got more flexibility to live out whatever God is calling them to do. And I've heard lots of wonderful stories, like someone who was really handy as a mechanic, and so he would fix up old cars so that when missionaries came home from their stints and were on furlough, they'd have a car that they could drive. And you hear all sorts of wonderful stories about the ways that God calls his people to different tasks in that stage of life. So yeah, I guess at a starting point, we would want to encourage people to pray and think through what that could look like, and then to, I guess, plan for the monetary kind of resources that are needed then to equip that work. So from a how much is enough, I don't know, but we do think there's a wonderful balance between, we try to be good stewards of the money that we have been entrusted with. That means we are putting some of it away while we're also spending or giving other aspects in our working life. But I also think there's still a dependence. So, whether you retire with, a lot of money in a super fund or a very small amount, God is calling you to be faithful, and we do believe he will provide. So yeah, it's a great question, Kelly. I don't think it has a quick answer, but
no, but I like that you're engaged in the conversation. So thank you for that. And I'm assuming that if people are thinking through, their super fund, that they could get in contact with you guys and talk through some more of what you do, or find some more of that information on your website. And also we will include details on the Consumed website about how you can get in touch with Christian Super. So thank you so much, Astrid. I really appreciate all of that. Did you have anything else you wanted to add before we ended our time?
Just wanted to encourage people to think. It doesn't mean that you need to automatically join Christian Super, although, as I've said, we always welcome people, and we love that people join the fund often when they find out we exist. But there are lots of other super funds out there, and some of them have got ethical options within their funds. So just if you've never really thought about your super, I guess our encouragement would be to check where it's invested, and if you're happy with that, and if you want to talk to us, definitely do that. We would love that. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Astrid.